studio for the best part of a year.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly that's what happens.
Yeah.
In reality, you're very ambitious. You're a very ambitious band. And, I mean, this record is more ambitious than the last, and the last was more ambitious than the previous one. Is that what you're constantly trying to do, just better what came before it?
I think you're always trying to improve. I think there's some aspects on some songs which have got something in common with the past, where you feel like you're improving on it. For example, United States of Eurasia is a song which is sort of based around piano, bass guitar and drums, like a simple three-piece setup. And we've tried that before with songs like Apocalypse Please and Space Dimension on previous albums, and we felt like we sort of bettered that, that sort of style of music, that sort of simple three-piece piano-based thing. That was something that we felt like we were bettering ourselves. But there's other things like Exogenesis, the sort of three-part thing at the end, and also Undisclosed Desires, which are totally new for the band, and I think that sort of are going to new territory. So I think every album has a mixture of brand new stuff, but also sort of trying to better certain things you've done in the past.
I was just talking to Dom while you nipped out to go to the toilet to mop your crutch.
Steady on.
Because of the water fight.
Because of the water fight. Not that you were so excited to be here at Absolute Radio. You couldn't believe it. But you were saying that, Dom was saying that you're in rehearsals at the moment, and obviously you've made this album in the studio, which is all very well, but you've got to go out and play these songs live. Is that the tricky bit now, trying to nail these studio songs for a band who are, well, Britain's best live band?
It's tough out there.
It's a challenge. It's always a bit of a challenge to try and translate what you've just recorded onto the stage or into a live setup. I mean, probably said it before a million times, but in the studio you really do. Just don't. He's opening a can of soft drink.
I'm not going to put fizz on him.
You've had way too many E numbers, is it?
It's you let yourself go in the studio really, and you try not to worry too much about how it's going to be live. You just want to create the music that you think is suitable for the song and the instrumentation, all that kind of stuff. So taking it into the live environment is a bit of a challenge, but so far I've actually been quite surprised how playable it is. But we have a keyboard player as well.
Yeah, the first half of the album's pretty straightforward. It's pretty much mostly sort of three-piece rock stuff that we can play. The second half of the album is where it gets quite difficult, where a lot of the orchestral stuff comes in, so it's going to be difficult to translate that live. But
I guess you have to take strings with you on tour. Yeah?
I don't know if we can afford that. I think taking an orchestra on tour it'd be like
touring with
a nightmare. Two buses full of players.
Who comes up with the ideas though for the stage shows? Because if people saw Harp or maybe saw you at the V Festival last year, people will know that you like to go all out. It's a stage show. I mean, even if you put your hands over your ears, it's still just as much fun to watch it as it is to listen to it. So who comes up with those ideas?
Well, we all talk about it amongst ourselves, and we know what we're capable of as performers, but also you talk to the crew and your construction people and all that kind of stuff, and you sort of throw a bunch of ideas together, and you usually come up with a whole bunch of stuff that ends up getting shot down because it's too expensive or not practical, and then you end up with something. You end up with something.
Give me an example of something that was turned down, because I like the satellite dishes.
Well, I really want to tour by airship. This is something that I've been very keen to do for a long time, because I think airships are a very pleasant method of travel. There's no traffic, but firstly, and it's a very smooth ride, and you have to go about 40 miles an hour, and you'll get from A to B without any. And the idea being is if you're playing outdoor stadiums, festivals, you can just pull up over the crowd or above the stage, shimmy down, and do the gig.
Down.
I would imagine it's quite serene as well, being in an airship.
Yeah, that's something that'd be really peaceful, lovely way to travel, and also you can just, as I said, you can just pull up right above the stage. And probably hover in quite close, and then come. And it sounds like a joke. That is actually something we were looking into.
You never quite know, because with a Muse show, you never quite know what you're going to get. And do you know what? Next time I turn up at Wembley and I see an airship, it won't surprise me. Let's crack on with some music from the album. This is the first track. This is Uprising. It's Muse on Absolute Radio. That is single number one. That is track number one from the album. It is called Uprising. Muse are here at Absolute Radio. I mentioned this earlier, you seem like perfectionists. I think you're perfectionists. So how do you know then when the album is ready to go?
You kind of, let's see. Well, I'll tell you, it was because we produced it by ourselves. We had to feel like, I suppose we kind of developed a bit of confidence to be able to finish songs, because probably a typical thing is for a band to go and produce an album by themselves in their own studio and take 10 years trying to do it. But I think from the last album we learnt a lot about being much more decisive in the recording process and being I guess having a bit more confidence to go, right, that's essentially done now. But I think every song started to gradually find its own identity, which is very individual to all the other songs. And when it started to develop that character and start developing its own personality, that's when we knew it was kind of